So this kind of doubles up for your math class too. So this information is not only it's good for this class, it is something you're kind of expected to know for the next one. We're not really going to get time for it. So we're kind of doing two birds with one stone here. But I promise you, the most difficult math part you're going to have to do with this is you're just going to have to, like, you know, what's 10% of $200? That's the hardest math stuff you're going to have to do here. So before opening a business, we have three primary questions. Is the business right for you? And that means, is it something you're going to stick? Is it your lifestyle? You know, if you open up a small business, you can expect to be working like at least 60 hours a week for that first little bit. You know, if you have a bunch of young kids at home and you're in grad school at the same time, that's not going to work. Something needs to fall off there. Is the business going to be profitable, right? No one goes in to make a business being like, oh, I can't wait to lose so much money. The ultimate goal is I want to make money. And then finally, this is primarily what we're focused on right now, is who's your potential customers. So before, you guys mentioned that you need startup money. You need money to fund this business. And if you don't have all that money saved up, you have to borrow it from someone. And when you go to borrow that, this is the type of information they're going to need. They want a business proposal. And part of that business proposal is they want to know is how many customers are there that could support your business. If I open up a daycare, for example, if I open up a daycare in a town with no kids, I'm screwed. So they expect you to do a little bit of research with that. So we have a little bit of an example here. So specifically with the daycare. So someone here is thinking of opening up their own daycare, and they want to look at either doing it in Moose Jaw or in Regina. And you're going to see a lot of people doing this specific thing because of this new childcare funding that's happening. $10 a day for childcare that's happening soon. So we know Moose Jaw's population, 33,000, and we know 6% of their students are 5 years younger. That's who most people who go to daycare are, right? 5 years and younger. And then we know there's 30 daycares operating in that city. This is all information you can find in your businesses, in your city's Chamber of Commerce. So she also found out that Regina has 193,000 people, 6% of them are 5 years and younger. And there's 142 licensed daycares. So she's trying to decide, do I want to do it in Regina or do I want to do it in Moose Jaw? Whichever town, whichever city has the most amount of kids that could sign up for her daycare, that's the one she's going to make the most money in, right? The more kids she has, the more money she makes. So first thing we want to do is we want to find out how many children there are in each of these cities. So in Moose Jaw, I'm just going to put Regina over here. Like I said, this is the hardest math that you're going to have to do with this, okay? So I know that 6% of this many people in Moose Jaw, come on. So I know that 6% of 33,274 people in Moose Jaw are children. So I just take that, the population, I times that by 6%, which if you remember, is this 6% is 6 over 100, right? Or 0.06. That's what it is. And so if I do that, I can also see that I have 1,996 kids in Moose Jaw, whereas in Regina, I can take that same figure and 6% and times that by the population. And I'll see how many kids are in Regina. 11,586. $586. Oh my gosh. There we go. 586. Okay. Okay, so now we know how many people are in each of the cities, but now what we have to figure out is we need to figure out how many of them are in each of those daycares, right? I have this many 5-year-olds or under in Moose Jaw, and I know that there is 30 daycares. So all I do is for Moose Jaw, I'm just going to take the number of kids, I'm going to divide them by the number of daycares, right? Then that way I know how many kids there are per daycare. So 1,996 kids divided by the 30 daycares, there's 66 kids in each daycare. Oops, divided by 30. There is 66 kids in each daycare in Moose Jaw, right? Whereas in Regina, I'll just put REG. I know I have 11,000 some hundred kids. I know there's 142 daycares. So I just do that same thing, right? Take the number of kids, divided by the number of daycares. Backspace. I mean, you can use your phone for this. You can use like any calculator for this. I can give you a calculator if you need one. But I can see that I have 82 kids per daycare in Regina. Cool. So based on this information, what location do you think she should open up her daycare? So she has to pick one of the cities. Which one? Regina. So you're thinking Regina. How come Regina? There's just more kids. Yeah. Not only is there more kids, there's more kids available per daycare, right? If these numbers were reversed, if Moose Jaw had more kids in total, but way more daycares, it wouldn't be worth it, right? There's too much competition. Right now, like Humboldt, where I'm from, you know, they have like 8 restaurants. Every time a 9th restaurant tries to open, it fails. There's too many restaurants. No one wants another restaurant. You know, maybe Moose Jaw, no one wants another daycare. So yeah, Regina is going to be the correct choice here, just because there's more children per daycare. This means there's more money. So I am going to give you 1 minute here, really quickly, try and find the answer to this case study, which is, what city do you think is going to be a better location? So what city is better to start a fitness class for youth under the age of 15? And what you really need to know here is you need to look at the amount of people, you need to look at the total population for each of these cities. I will give you just 1 minute. I don't want to spend too long on this. Just 1 minute to work on that. Okay, so show of hands. So show of hands. Who thinks the first city, Courtenay, BC? And who thinks Duncan, BC? And who thinks neither? So let's take a quick look at this, right? So which city would be a better location for youth under the age of 15? Well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 0.65, I'm going to times that by that total bound population, right? Oh, sorry, I'm going to take my 16%, So I gave you guys the wrong information there. Because I'm looking for people who are under the age of 15. So I take my 16%, I'm going to times that by how many people there are. 49215. Yeah, 7,874. That's my potential customers in Courtenay, BC. And then in Duncan, BC, I can see I have 17%. So there's a younger crew there, but there's less people. So let's take a look. There's more young people, but there's less people in total. 7,035. So which city is better? It's going to be Courtenay, BC. And the reason why is because there's more potential customers. That's what it boils down to, right? So whenever you're going to a bank and you're like, I want to take out a loan, I have a business idea, that's one of the questions they're going to ask you. What do you think your customer base is going to be? You don't need to give them an exact number, but you need to give them a reason why you think you have a good enough pool of customers. Yeah, Courtenay, BC is the correct answer here because there's just more young people. That's what it boils down to. I'm gonna come back to this one. I want to go to the startup costs here. So this next part here on the next page. Okay. So let me make you bigger. So when you're starting up a small business, you have to take into account a couple different things. And we've already talked a lot about this. But the first thing you have to take account into is the startup costs, right? You have to take effect into the startup costs. If I own a restaurant, I need to price out a grill. I need to buy groceries. I need to do some advertising. If I'm doing, if I'm doing like a hair salon, I need a chair. I need a hair dryer. I need scissors. I need products, stuff like that. It costs money to get this stuff, right? If I want to do a welding company, I want to do side with welding on the side. I need a welding machine, right? It's stuff like that. So we have to figure out. So we have to figure out how much money we're going to invest and spend. Ooh. We have to figure out how much money we're going to invest and spend before we can open for business. So again, you go to sit down with a bank. You're like, I want to take a loan out. This is how, I want $10,000. You better have a breakdown of this is why you need $10,000, or they're not going to give it to you. Because they know that businesses go bankrupt a lot. And if you go bankrupt, you're not paying them back, right? So when they invest in you, they expect that you're going to be able to be in business long enough to pay that loan. So if you don't have enough money saved, you're going to have to take out a loan or adjust your spending. So here's my question for you. I'm going to give you 1 minute. I want you to just come up with some examples of startup costs. Just think about some different examples of startup costs. This is what I need before I can open up this type of business. We've gone through a couple, right? You need, you need like scissors to be able to start up a hair company. You need a grill to start up a kitchen. You need speakers and a laptop to start up a DJ company. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'm going to ask for an example from everybody. I want you just to listen. We have some examples here of startup costs. So there's one other cost we need to consider. And so once we've started up a business, now the other thing we need to think about are some of the unexpected costs or some of the ongoing regular costs. So those startup costs, those are one time, right? Austin has his microphone. That liquor store has its permit. That kitchen has its grill. You've bought it. You don't need another one. You don't need to buy a new one. It's a one-time cost, unless something breaks. There's other stuff. There's other costs that happen, regular, ongoing costs. So that's the final part here, which is we also have what's called an operating expense. So when you have a business, you make money, but you also have to pay money to keep that business running, right? If you, again, I'll use hair salon. That's the common example I've been using. How do you book a hair salon appointment? Usually you call, right? Or you text or you book online. It costs money to keep that service, whether that's the phone line or whether that's the account that they use. It costs money for that person who they hired to book you in. So those are some operating expenses here. So same thing this time, I'm just going to give you 30 seconds. Think of just an operating cost. It doesn't even need to be for a business anymore, for a specific business, just in general, like just a general operating cost, for example. So I'm just going to give 30 seconds and we're going to rapid fire through. Right? So those are some examples of operating costs, right? Operating costs is stuff you need to keep that business running. You need to pay people salary. You need to keep stuff on your shelves. You need to keep your business clean. You need to advertise. You need to have legal leases. You need to have a location usually. Most businesses don't own the location. They lease a building. So yeah, those are some good examples here. So let's run through one quick example here. So now I'm going to give you a specific. I'm going to give you a very specific example. So we have someone who's completed a hairdressing program in a college, and she's been working in a salon. She decides that she wants to open her own salon. She already has many of the items that she will need because she has to supply her own scissors. razors, curling irons, straighteners, brushes, perm curlers, and combs for her current job. I want you to list other items she needs, but I want you to be as specific as possible. Do you notice how for these examples here, it didn't just say hairstyle and tools. It gave very specific examples. So I want you to try and be very, very specific on what you think someone would need to open up a hair salon now. And then I'm just going to ask people to fire them out rapidly once you have that. So 30 seconds, write down as many as you can think of, and then we're just going to quickly see how. So we can see here that we have a bunch of examples of different things that they're expected to be able to start their salon. So that's good. So perfect. So we're getting really good now at being able to come up with some very specific stuff. And don't just think about like just the products. Like you also want to think about, well, I need to advertise my business so people know about me. You know, I need a cash register. I need workers. You know, I need water for this sink, for example, like stuff like that, cleaning products. So just for the sake of time, I'm not going to ask you guys, hey, let's think of more stuff. We've already shown we're pretty good at yes, you could fill that list a whole bunch. So what I'm going to do for this next one here is I'm just going to give you a bunch of stuff here. I'm going to give you the info. Actually, no, I'm not. You can skip this part. You can skip this entire thing here. We're going to do one more thing together. The which one? Oh, I'm just skipping that for now, just for the sake of time. Yeah, like, so we've already shown that we're really good at that stuff. Like you guys knocked the hair salon one out of the park. So I'm pretty confident you could come up with 5 things for the dog daycare. So if you guys go to this next page here, so what I have now is, so this person's come up with a list of, hey, this is what I need to be able to start a hair salon. This is what this person's come up with. And then what they've done is they've actually priced it out. So they've looked at suppliers and they figured out the cost of this. So, oh. So now what I want us to think about is, I just want us to think about the difference between like startup costs and a couple of other things here. So if you're adding up these startup costs here, so first off, is there anything in this item list that is not a startup cost? Is there anything in this list that is not a startup cost? So remember, you either have a startup cost or an ongoing cost, right?
Ongoing costs?
An ongoing cost.
Oh, ongoing costs.
Yeah, ongoing cost. So it's either something you need to start your business or something you pay regularly every month to keep it going. And Jasmine, I'm going to come back to that example in a bit, actually. So generally speaking, everything here is a startup cost. Everything there is a startup cost, right? Yeah, we really just have to add that all together. And like, I'll just save you guys the work for that. You know, so I have 1,000. I want 2 of these chairs, so that's 1,600. I want 2 of these sets, so now we're at 3 grand, 4 grand, 4,600, 5,600. Yeah, 5,875. Yes.
That's 4,875.
There's the I think you're missing the washer and dryer or something.
Oh.
It's 5,875.
2, 3, 4, 46, 4,875.
Yes, remember it's two styling chairs and it's 2 washing sinks. So this is actually 600 here, and this one is actually 1,400 here. So that might be the missing $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So yeah, so we now know what total startup costs here. And then, so we know the startup cost, and so we know that she saved $5,000. Does she have enough money? Simple yes or no question.
How much money does she have?
She only has $5,000 saved, and we know she needs 5,800s. No, she does not have enough.
Get a loan.
And you're absolutely right. So she would be able to get a loan. She's choosing not to. Now you guys had really? Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I didn't know that. So in this specific case, this person does not want to take the loan out. So what that means is she needs to take out some things here. She needs to take something out from this list in order to make this business viable now, to have enough money. Now, you guys have already said this earlier today. So I want to come back to first off Jasmine's. So Jasmine, you mentioned about this washer and dryer.
I know what. For the.
So-
for the example. Some people give their little snacks.
Oh, sometimes, but in this specific case, so I'm just looking at this list just for now. So she wants to save money. So this is a lot of things a lot of people need to do, get creative. So first off, Jasmine, you said, well, maybe these washer and dryer, maybe you don't need that. Maybe you don't. Why can't you just like take it to a laundromat when you're first starting out? So maybe,
Her own thing.
or maybe she uses her own. Yeah. So that's going to save some money.
That was the 1,400.
Well, that would save 1,000. Save, oh, yeah. So that would save $1,000. Now, the other thing as well that she could potentially look at doing is, you'd mentioned this earlier, Kim.
You have $125 left over. She saved 1,000.
Yeah, so she could take out the laundry. Another possible option is, screw it, do it in your home to start out. Why not? That'll save money. So what? So maybe instead of, yeah. So there's a couple different options here, but so that's just all I wanted to highlight is sometimes you need to get creative when you start a business, right? So again, I talked a lot about my brother owned a DJ company. He didn't have all the equipment. Sometimes he rented it. It was cheaper to rent it than to buy a $10,000 thing when he only needed to use it maybe 5 times a year. It's just cheaper to rent.
But then again, buy and rent it out too.
You could rent it out too, yeah. Potentially, yeah. If you can find people to rent, which you couldn't, because no one knew he was renting. But yeah, so there's a couple different options there that they could do. Okay. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's it. Like that's startups. All we really wanted was startup costs and operating costs. That's what we really wanted to focus on here. Now, the rest of the stuff is just some opportunities to kind of like hone in on these skills. This is going to be a particular use for you math students here. But the most difficult thing, the most difficult math you're going to have to do with this is just taking the percentage of something. That's the hardest math involved with this. Okay. So it's not a math heavy topic, but there is numbers involved, right? We have to have an understanding that you're owning a business. You need to be able to do some financial stuff here. So what I will do is I'm just going to give you guys 30 minutes here just to be able to, up until our break, just to be able to go through this. And then once you're done with that, what we're going to do is we will, I'll introduce you to one of your final projects, just so you have time to think about it. So you got about a half hour here just to make sure you have this skill down. Let me know if you have any questions with anything. It's just time to kind of finish this stuff up. Don't just sit there on your phone or anything. Practice the skill.